What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the charts are showing and based off what's going on. I'm going to break down the sentiment of the market, what's going on with the FOMC minutes coming out for tomorrow with earnings, and also some big tweets from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, as we have some big updates for Tesla. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla's share price, I still have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 10 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, out of the 10 free stocks, 5 are going to come from the wheel right here. So you could win 5 free Tesla shares, 5 free AMC shares, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So Tesla is currently down about 0.89% for the day, a little bit green in the after hours, and this is the setup I'm essentially seeing. In my video from yesterday, I was talking about the bearish divergence that was essentially forming on Tesla, and also the key zone that SPY was entering, and why I did anticipate some chop to be coming, and I did see the potential for downside for Tesla for today. I did predict we'd actually close around 9:15. I did see this thing actually bouncing off like 9:10. That is what we ended up seeing. So my prediction was very close. It did actually hold up a little bit better for most of the day than I thought. We actually held above 925, which is a pretty decent sign, but it's not necessarily a confirmation that we're just like out of this downtrend and we're just going to explode from here. I still think this thing has some chop to go, and I'm going to talk about why I feel that way. So right now, the markets have turned kind of greedy, which is not the best of signs, in my opinion, because the market became very comfortable seeing all the green that we ended up seeing, which is like awesome. I feel, very happy to see that. But this is all part of the game that the market makers play to get you excited. I've been warning you guys about this for a while, and I really believe that there is something that concerns me a bit when it comes to the Fed's reaction. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So we have the FOMC minutes coming out for tomorrow. It's going to come out at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We also have Governor Michelle Bowman speaking. She's going to be talking about some of things that have to do with our economy and finance. But the bigger thing would be the FOMC minutes for tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be too bad whatsoever. It's really just a summary of the FOMC meeting, the last one from July. It's just going to be on paper. So they're going to kind of confirm all the data. I'm sure this won't really affect us too much. But the bigger thing, in my opinion, that's coming out would be earnings for lots of retail companies. So Walmart had their earnings, right? And they beat expectations. So even though I would congratulate them for this, like it's good to see them beating earnings, right? This is actually not as great as some people would think. And the simple reason why is because when inflation is too high, the CPI report came out at over 8.5% the last time it came out, right? It was over 8%. Inflation is still crazy high. It's still very high. And the problem is, even though these earnings are being adjusted, the Fed has to be very hawkish. The Fed has to be stricter on monetary policy. They use open market operations to, they basically do this to bring down inflation, but it's not going to immediately cause inflation to plummet. It's going to need a reaction first, and the reaction happens slowly. So the problem I'm seeing is, look, unemployment, it's still relatively low. We actually saw a lot of jobs created, at least on paper, for the month of July. And that's great that the economy is doing well, but in order for inflation to come down, we're going to need demand to slow down. We're going to need consumers to slow down with the spending. We're going to need things to really, some bad things may end up coming from this. We may see some unemployment numbers get worse. We may see the economy take a hit, but that's all necessary for the long term because inflation being too high is not good. So when we see all these good earnings, it's not the best of signs because the Fed may actually be enticed to be even more hawkish during the next FOMC meeting in September, right? So we have other earnings coming out like Target. Be on the lookout for that. We also have Kohl's, I think, coming out on Thursday. So be on the lookout for all of this. Let's talk about how this all could affect Tesla's share price. So considering this, I kind of I gave you guys an outlook for September because there is going to be some fear about what the Fed is going to do. And I do believe that as we approach September, the market's going to change a lot. So if you look at SPY, believe me, this does relate to Tesla because the SPY and Tesla tend to be correlated over the last couple of months. We've seen a strong correlation. If you look at SPY, This thing's been pushing up and up and up, and I do believe that a pullback is kind of overdue, and we are going to see it relatively soon. But as of right now, we're not necessarily there yet. But I do believe we're entering the chop phase. So this essentially means that the SPY is pushing up to these new resistance levels, but then once we hit them, we get these like big drops, and it's making very volatile moves. So we're seeing bulls and bears fighting even harder, and the SPY struggling to really break these key resistance levels as strongly as it did before. Now, does this mean the SPY is just going to, crash from here? Not necessarily, but I do expect a lot more choppy price action. So the SPY might push up to like 430 tomorrow, 431, maybe go as high as 432. That was kind of like my target for the day. Get a big rejection, come all the way down to the 429 range, get a big push up over and over again. So I do expect some crazy volatile price action like that. The Nasdaq, very similar story. And remember, these things affect the overall market. They affect Tesla, believe it or not, which is why I mentioned them. The Nasdaq's in a very similar setup. We have this rising wedge, and I do anticipate it to make very identical moves as we approach the month of September, and so on and so forth. With that said, the choppy price action is going to affect Tesla, and I am seeing this thing kind of chopping back and forth, just like the market probably will. So what I see Tesla essentially doing right now is it's respecting this pennant. We actually saw this thing make kind of like a fake out in the morning. It pushed all the way up to 944, right? It was the market makers taking advantage of people, trying to trick them into buying calls, getting them excited, because the market makers profit off calls that are being bought, especially out of the money. And what happened was people got excited. Maybe some people did. Boom, a huge drop all the way down to 908, very close to that 910 range, which is where I predicted Tesla would bounce. And we got a bounce off that. We actually saw a lot of buyers step in and hold this thing up throughout the day. But then when the SPY got rejected, it was right at this moment, around this moment. SPY got that big rejection. The whole market took a huge hit as we got closer to power hour. And we could see Tesla bounce off that. But that's basically what Tesla ended up doing, and the market did affect it. So I'm seeing a continuation of this. Just to remind you guys, if Tesla pushes up, 925 is going to have some resistance, so we could get some chop around there. Then another major resistance level is going to be the 940 range, but also as a part of this pennant that we have been basically respecting for quite a bit of time. As we approach maybe like that 930 range, somewhere like around those lines, we could see this thing actually get a rejection off that as well. And then as far as support goes, as of right now, the strong support could actually be around that like 920, 918 range. But from a low end, if we do break below this, 910 should try to hold us up. If we don't hold 910 and we get a break down to the downside, so like a breakouts to the downside, I see this thing filling the gap and coming all the way down to 900, maybe the high 800s if we get that break to the downside. And that's very possible as of right now. Now, it's not the end of the world because we have the stock split coming relatively soon, and that could actually be a catalyst to push this thing above all of these resistance levels, but I'm not necessarily seeing that just yet. It may take some time, but as of right now, I do see Tesla respecting this. So into the market for tomorrow, what I'm essentially saying is this. I think Tesla's gonna open to the upside just like how it did today. So watch out for 930 this time, because this is a pennant, right? The resistance level kind of changes a bit. And what could happen is we get a bit of a rejection. We're going to try to hold 925 for some time, maybe see some chop there, come all the way down. And I see this thing getting very tight, right? We should bounce off like 918, 919. Could go a little bit lower, even if it's a few dollars lower, that's also possible. So let's just say like 915. Nice push right off that. And we're going to be trading in this range right here. And then we're probably going to see a bit of a breakout. So when it comes to the breakouts, what could happen is Tesla might get a slow bleed, and then we might kind of like retest the trend and then kind of come down slowly. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing started testing the lower 900s going into tomorrow. And I'm not guaranteeing we're going to fill this gap right here immediately. It may take a little time for this gap to get filled, but I could see this thing actually slowly chopping to the downside. It looks a little bit more bearish to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if we actually close around, I don't know, 910, 915, still a little bit red, not that hard. And the reason why I think Tesla's going to hold up pretty well is because today we showed signs of holding up pretty well. And we also saw the SPY trading not necessarily too bad. The SPY actually managed to close green, but it did show some signs of chop. So I am seeing that essentially continuing in Tesla. And soon, if we end up actually going below like 908 again, if we do end up testing 908 again, I think it's very likely this thing is going to show weakness, and we are going to end up filling the gap and seeing sub 900 relatively soon. So how does this look from another perspective, let me close all the drawings now and let me actually pull up other important indicators. So the big thing that you have to look out for on the daily, we're going to use the daily candles, right? It is the bearish divergence. So what essentially is happening is Tesla, the RSI was basically overbought. It was reaching like the 72 level when Tesla pushed up to 940 before. Then Tesla comes down, it pushes up to 944, and you could see the RSI is actually lower. So the RSI is actually lowering even though Tesla made a higher high over the last couple of days. And that's a very bearish indication out there that Tesla's showing some signs of weakness. And that is what this is suggesting, that we may actually come down relatively soon. And it is possible for this thing to end up in the high 800s. It's very possible maybe by like next week or something, but that is what this is essentially suggesting. If we look at the MACD, I mentioned this to you guys on the daily. We saw this nice run up like here, and we're starting to see some chop right here. We got a crossover, but then we got a crossover right back. So the histograms are very small now, very thin, and Tesla's showing some signs of chop from here, and that's essentially what we're seeing. I like to use the 2 hour as well. On the 2 hour perspective, what I'm essentially seeing is Tesla did come down for some time, got a nice crossover, pushed all the way up to 944. But then after that, it's getting closer to actually coming down again. We might get another crossover to the downside from here as RSI is starting to go down. So once again, another bearish signal out there. Now, as far as the OBV goes, I sometimes like to look at this too. It's also coming down with the RSI. It's basically correlated with this. So this is just another indication of it's showing some weakness as it's dropping too. So overall, I've seen lots of bearish signals. I think most signals are pointing the direction of Tesla kind of coming down and filling the gap and ending up like around the low 900s. And that's essentially what the trend is showing as of right now. It also does depend on SPY, but I do think SPY is going to be a little bit choppy based on what we're seeing. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. So for the short term, I don't think September is going to be as good of a month as July or like most of August. And I feel this way because of the FOMC meeting that's coming out and also the change in sentiment. So we might see the fear and greed index shift more on the neutral, maybe fearful side as we approach September. So be on the lookout for that. As that happens, the market may show some diminishing signs. The market may be a little bit more choppy. So I'm warning you right now before it really starts. Be prepared for that as the FOMC meeting comes. And during election years, because we have midterms in the USA this year, during midterms, September tends to not be the best of months, so be prepared for that as well. Anyways, the last thing I want to talk about is this company right over here. I believe it's pronounced Xiaomi. I apologize if I said that wrong. This company came up with the Cyber One robot that shows us what to expect from Tesla's promised Optimus robots. I think there's truth behind this, but I actually disagree with this claim right here because I really believe that the Optimus robot is going to have a lot more features than this. And I'm not saying this to really bash on the company. I'm very proud of them for actually trying to improve the world with these robots. But the truth is, the Cyber One is, in my opinion, going to be nowhere near what the Optimus bot is. Because when you look at the hands, it doesn't even have fingers, and it looked kind of very shaky when it walks. In my opinion, it looks like if you just pushed it just a little bit, it would just fall over. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And it's just from the presentation I saw, is it able to like walk and chew gum? They even said like there's not much more to it than that. So the fact that they are trying to compare Tesla to these big companies is just what the media tends to do. But I honestly believe that Tesla is going to really impress us during AI Day, during their big robotics day. It's going to be very cool. And I think that their robot's going to have fingers. I think that's going to be very awesome. I think it's going to be a lot more stable when it walks. And I also believe that it may have the feature, the ability to actually hold conversations with people very, very soon. Now, can I guarantee it's going to happen that quickly? No, but within the next few years, I'm very excited for this, and I really like to see competition. So I'm very proud of other companies that are trying to do this as well. Competition is great for economies, it's good for Tesla, and it really pushes people to be their bests. Now, the last thing I want to talk about are things from Elon Musk. Elon Musk retweeted this tweet right here. Basically, the first Model Y deliveries in Australia and New Zealand happened. So very awesome to see Tesla's getting lots of exposure in different countries, especially the Aussies. They're going to love these cars. And I think that they're becoming more and more global as time goes on, and they're really putting themselves out there. Because when they start traveling to different countries, when they start delivering to different countries, I believe it's not just good for their company in itself, the fundamentals, the sales. It's also going to boost their revenues. It's going to boost their investor base, and more people from other countries will be incentivized to buy into Tesla when they start seeing how cool these cars are, the technologies. So it's a very, very amazing move that they're making, and it really helps them over the long-term future. The last thing I want to talk about is this right here. Ray for Tesla tweeted that 6 years ago, Elon Musk predicted that Tesla would be able to sell between 500,000 and a million Tesla Ys per year. Now it's safe to say that his prediction is very conservative. That is true. And they are aiming for even more. There are tens of millions of deliveries per year for the future. I really believe they're going to reach that goal, and we're going to see a lot more of these gigafactories built. But that's it and done. Thank you all for listening. Please have a fantastic rest of the day. Be ready for some shop for tomorrow, lots of manipulation, but I'm still optimistic for the long-term future of this company. For the short term, do what you have to do, remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Tesla to the moon because the long-term future is bright, and peace out.